Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins and it's autumn here at Dandelion Cottage, and today I went into the garden and I picked this rose. Isn't it amazing? This is one of the crocus roses, and these are the last blooms of the season. And these are my favorites. So I thought what I would do is a nice loose all over pattern. I want to make a sort of my own DSP so I can use it to decorate a box. So I'm not going to make the box today, but I am going to show you how I paint the roses in a very loose, wet and wet method. So let's get started. So I've already spritzed my paper. This is just a very light misting. This is a quarter sheet of hot pressed watercolor paper. And I just have 3 watercolors, red, yellow, and blue. And I've got 2 brushes today. I've got my great big number 12 sable, and I've got a number 7 sable. So these are both Winsor & Newton Series 7 sable brushes, but you could use any brushes that you have to hand. And let's see. So my rose, let me see if I can get that on the screen too so that you can see that. Maybe a little bit. Not so much. Okay, well here is the rose. So you can see it's a very pale yellow, almost a creamy yellow with maybe the slightest bit of a blush pink in the center. And these roses have these beautiful dark green leaves. So I've got some here. And they have that crimson tinge to the stems and to the veins, and also maybe a little bit on the edges of the leaves. So that's going to be a lot of fun to get in the picture. So I'm just going to start by mixing up some pale creamy yellow, and I'm just taking whatever's on my palette here, just mixing that all together. And I'm going to test my paper to see how saturated it is. So let's just, yeah, so I'm getting a nice kind of a soft edge, but not so wet that I'm losing my brush strokes. So I'm just going to put some marks like that all over. I have a lot of classes and events coming up in October that I want to share with you. But before I do that, I want to remind you all that today is the very last day to take advantage of that great deal on joining my design team. So you can learn more about that in my last video, which I did on Monday. And basically what it is you double your money. So when you purchase the starter kit that has all the different tools and materials you need to get started making cards and boxes and other paper crafting projects, you also get 2 free stamp sets, a card kit for 2 card kits for 8 cards each, and a package of embellishments, all for free if you join up today. So there's more information on that on my website, which is dandelioncottagedesign.com, and just go to the tab that says join, and there'll be a lot more information about that deal on there. And while you're there, please subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage so that I can send you all of the listings of the great classes I have coming up in October. So there's going to be a stamp camp with bingo. We're going to make excuse me, we're going to make Christmas cards. There's going to be a Halloween card class where we make a little treat box. And I'm going to begin a new club, and it's going to be a watercolor card making club. And each month we're going to have a different subject. And I'm going to show you how you can paint that subject, whatever it may be, and then use it to create various projects. So there's a lot of stuff going to be listed in that notes this month. So please sign up so that I can let you know. Okay, so there are some basic flower shapes. My rose is kind of casting a shadow here, so I'm going to move it over. That's better. And now I'm going to just begin to put in some of my greens. So as I mentioned, these greens are quite dark. So I'll start with a medium green mixture. I'm going to keep it kind of light to begin with. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to use my smaller brush for this. And I'm just going to start to add some basic leaf shapes. I'm just filling in some of the spaces left by the flower shapes. Now, oftentimes these roses will have leaves in clusters of 3, 5, or 7. So I'm just making some little 3-leaf clusters here. And I'm letting the design go right off the edges, because remember, I'm going to cut this up into pieces to use it to decorate a box. And you can do this with anything, you know, just go outside and get some inspiration from nature. So this could very easily be autumn leaves. Would make a great subject for this. Maybe we'll do that next week. If there's no more flowers in the garden, I'll switch to the leaves. We're having a beautiful autumn this year. The colors here in New England are really brilliant. It's very exciting. Okay, so now while the leaves are still a little bit damp, I'm going to take some of the darker blue and red mixture. I've got a hair in my palette here I'm trying to get out. So here's a little bit of the blue with a little bit of the red added. Now I'm going to take the green mixture and bring some of that in there. A little more red. And now I've got this nice darker accent, so I can start to just add that to some of these leaves. And where it's still moist, it will blend, and that's fine. And where it's not so moist, it will create a sharper line, and that's fine too. Either way is good. Alright, so that's coming along. I'm going to go back into my roses now, and this time I'm going to take that same sort of creamy, peachy mixture, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker and add a tiny bit more red. And just begin to develop some of the drawing. Just looking at the way the petals unfurl at the outer edges and are tightly closed in the center. This is an old, well, it's a hybrid, but it's based on some old world roses. So it has a lot of different petals. So oftentimes roses are classified by the different amounts of petals they have. So the wild rose has 5 petals, and some of these very beautiful full hybrid roses can have up to 100. So I don't know for sure, but I think that the crocus rose is in maybe the 50 to 70 petal range. So it's quite full. I'm just adding a little more red to some of these for some variation. Okay, so that's basically our pattern, and now I'm just going to put in a few details. So using the very tip of my brush, let me get that straight on here for you. I'm going to mix up a darker green, and I'm going to begin putting some of the stems to attach those petals, the leaves to one another. if I have a paper towel here, I'm just going to take some of the excess moisture off my brush. And I'm just testing to see how dry the paper is, and I can see it's dry enough that I'm able to get some of these lines to hold. And now I'm going to take a darker tone. This is a violet, kind of a blue violet, with a little bit of green. I'll just put a couple of darker accents here and there. Okay, so I talk a lot about color. I get a sip of tea here. Okay, that's better. All right, so I talk about a lot of these values, color mixing, hard and soft edges, atmospheric perspective in my watercolor course. And if that sounds like something you may be interested in, there's going to be a new course starting up in January. This is a 6-week course, and it's fairly comprehensive, and it includes several Zoom sessions where you can ask questions and get a critique on your work, and also be able to see what the other people in the class are doing. So it's a very fun, very thorough introduction to watercolor painting. And I will have more information about that in notes as well, so that you can start to plan on that. All right, so I think that's coming along pretty well with the leaves. I'm going to add a few more touches to the roses, and then I think we'll be done. Get that a little more green in there. Okay. Okay, so going back again to my yellow and red mixture. I'm blotting my brush, getting the excess moisture off of it. And now I'm just going to see if I can pick out a few of these petals. So I'm looking at my beautiful rose here. And I'm paying attention to how these petals are all formed. Whenever you have the opportunity to paint from life, it's always preferable to looking at a photograph, because you can move the flower around, you can see it from all the different angles, you can set it up in different lighting situations. And if you can't get a live rose, at least go to your craft store and pick up some of the artificial flowers while they're on sale, because there are some nice ones that are very reasonably priced, and then you can practice as much as you like. Now as I'm looking at my specimen here, I can see some other cool tones coming in to these roses. So I want to add a little bit of that feeling. So I'm just going to take my towel, I'm just going to clean a little area on my palette. Doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough. And I'm going to mix up a very pale, kind of a blue with a little bit of red in it. I'm just going to put a couple of strokes of that here and there. So let's test it. Okay. So these cool tones are going to help to turn the petals into space. And one of the things that I talk about in my classes quite a bit is temperature. So when I say a cool tone, this is what I'm talking about. Just a little bit, not too much. Okay, and finally, I just, in the center of the flower, and I'll show you, you see we have that beautifully tightly curled center of the flower. So I want to get some of that detail in the picture. So for that, I'm taking a darker mix of this beautiful peachy tone, and I'm just going to drop that and increase that tonality like so. Okay, folks, so that's about all there is to it. You can do this. I hope you give it a try. And if you'd like to follow along in class, I'd love to have you. To find out more, just go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to Notes, and you will get all of the upcoming class listings, and you'll learn how to register, what materials you'll need, and also the special bingo and Christmas card camp that's coming up at the end of the month. So lots going on. And don't forget, if you're just starting out and you don't have tools of your own, then this is a perfect time to sign up and get that starter kit. And if you go to that join page, you will also find information on what the recommendations I have for the various tools. They're no frills, just the essentials, and they're all beautiful quality. They'll last a long time, and you will be set to go. Okay? So thank you for joining me today. Come back on Saturday for Paper Crafting Saturday when I take this watercolor and turn it into a very special gift box. So stay well, stay creative, and I'll see you then. Thank you so much.